So we're going to be looking at the fundamentals of wave management, specifically in top lane. The VOD's going to be played at a speed where we're not going to be able to talk much about the micro movements in the lane, whereas the spacing and all that trading is concerned. We'll cover that later, but for now we're just looking at the wave management here. The first concept I want to discuss in respect to wave management is a little bit more advanced, and then after this everything is quite easy to understand. So notice, well, even this is quite easy to understand once you grasp it. So here, notice Fiora walks up, she has first action in lane. This allows us to simply pull aggression from these minions. And when we pull aggression, see, the way the minions work is they're looking for the nearest target. And so if the nearest target is your minion, they're going to aggro. If the nearest target is you, they're going to aggro you. Or when I say you, I mean Fiora in this case. And so what's going to happen now is she's going to aggro these two frontline minions. She's going to drag them back. And now notice what ends up happening in the lane as she drags them back. Notice how this melee follows all the way back, and the casters, the backline casters for Fiora end up hitting it. This actually means that this minion will die faster, allowing us to get a push lead. Now, of course, you want to be careful when you do this. You don't want to start hard autoing these minions while you do this move, because then you might push wave 1 really fast. If you push wave 1 way too quickly, you might lose the base timer on wave 3, which is a moment where you can build 3 waves and crash. And so if you end up not doing this and you push 2, then it's a little bit awkward, because if you do end up pushing 2, you're not going to have access to the 3rd wave, which means that the opposing laner, dependent on the matchup, could actually hit level 3 before you do and therefore run you down. So right here, the 3 casters are aggroing the frontline melee. Fiora goes and takes it, Sion teleports in. I'm not sure why he's so late to the lane. The extra auto on the minion that Fiora just did was a little bit pointless. Notice where Fiora is spacing up to the north side. The reason for this is because she has the vital on the north side as well. There's no reason to utilize the brush, because even if she aggroes, she's most likely just going to extend the trade, considering the fact that even if these 3 casters aggro the Fiora, she can still win the trade if she procs all of her vitals. And so she's most likely not necessarily needing the brush, although the brush is up to the north side, if the trade extends in a way where she has to like run away immediately from aggro. As you can see, she does exactly that, and she ends up just hard trading. Sion moves to the south side next to the wall, attempting to evade the second vital on the south side, or I guess the east side you can call it. Unfortunately it fails, not a problem. Fiora tries to Q, doesn't find it, finds the caster instead, which is pretty good for Sion, because Sion doesn't want Fiora to find a base timer on 3. Fiora goes ahead and uses QW, and this is because she can extend the range, as you can see. And she can try to land the vital, but unfortunately not able to find it. And if she's able to chunk Sion level 1 hard enough, then she can look for a dive level 3 if the jungle is pathing up, or she can do it herself if she plays it like absolutely correctly. As you can see now, 3rd wave ends up arriving, and now immediately what you want to be aware of is, well, as Fiora, I can't access the back wave, but Sion can. And so what's going to happen here is Fiora's goal in this lane now, because she can't find a base timer because there's no gold value to base at, and 3rd wave is way too awkward, she's just going to start crashing these frontline minions. She's going to start killing these 3 frontlines in order to get level 3 so she doesn't get all in. She wants to hit 3 here before Sion hits 3 here. Now, if the jungle positioning was in a situation where you ended up crashing 2nd wave because you played wave 1 way too quickly, then what ends up happening is you can get a ward down on the 2nd wave before the 3rd wave arrives, because as the 3rd wave arrives, remember, you're not going to have time to get the ward down, because if you're getting the ward down and the 3rd wave arrives and the minions are lined up here on the 3rd wave, Sion can hit 3 if he kills off these minions quickly, because he has the assistance of the tower. And so if the jungler is pathing towards you, then you want to be able to get a ward sometime around now. As you can see, like, Sion realistically should never really be walking up. You can stand here if you know you're going to crash 2nd wave to threaten it. However, you do need to, at one point while you're taking this minion, you can drop the ward down if you think you're crashing 2nd wave. If you're crashing 3rd wave, you can still drop the ward down and you want to stand here so you can build it. Obviously in this case the wave is too accelerated, and so we're not going to be able to find a 3rd wave base. So in this case, going back to the initial freeze frame here where we talked about the 3rd wave arriving and 3 frontline minions, you want to make sure you're killing, because you want access to them. Again here, you're going to hit level 3 on these 2, Sion's going to hit level 3 on these 3. You want to hit level 3 before Sion hits level 3. If Sion is a different champion, you get run down potentially. You want to be aware of these things. Level 3 comes out, wave is still pushing, and now as you can see, the bounce is happening. Now in this case, as the bounce is happening, we know that the 4th wave and the 5th wave will end up arriving into us, right? It'll go like this. Now, because it'll go like this, we can look to fight Sion. If we fight Sion and we have an extended wave with Ghost and Fiora, level 3, level 4, she can find a solo kill. And so finding chunks on Sion's HP now would be really ideal. As you can see, that's exactly what the Fiora attempts to do. And again, she positions her pockets aligning with the vitals that end up spawning, okay? positions herself to the south side, misses the vital, goes for the caster instead, baits out the Scion Q, and now she's just pulling the wave. As you can see, this is happening. However, you want to be careful, right? Because you don't want to take too much damage, and he's about to do that. So this is the next concept I want to talk about. When you take so much damage like this, now all of a sudden you can't just fight Scion in the wave, even though, you know, like you want to get like an all-in eventually. You're too low to do that, and so you want to preserve your HP to the point where you can still fight him in the wave, but you want to chunk him out and poke him out slowly so you can still look for that all-in inside of the wave. Unfortunately, not able to find that, and so we end up flipping a little bit. End up surviving, but we're confident because we have riposte. And now, again, I don't know, jungle will eventually show up here. But again, this is by chance. This is all by chance. Like in a different game, right? Enemy jungle could just show up and dive you like this if you're the top laner. Maybe your jungle doesn't show up if you're playing in like gold, silver, diamond, platinum, right? Like these games, sometimes jungle just doesn't show up, and sometimes you're just left alone on an island and you have to fend for yourself. And when you have to fend for yourself, when you're in an elo, I'm getting a little tongue-tied there. When you're in an elo where you have to fend for yourself, which is usually the lower brackets below Master Tier and Grandmaster, then making these flip plays where you end up attempting to trade it's going to more likely affect you in a negative way than help you, because you're not going to have that association with your own jungler, with your own support, and so you want to be a little more careful in that regard. Anyways, at this point in the lane, this is the last bit we're going to talk about, is just we're just looking for a slow push, because the point is just to get the shove out and then simply touch river for wards and play the map accordingly, right? Now in this case, again, he drops the ward because he knows he's going to retain this position in the lane. Now notice what he does actually here. He actually drops the pink ward. Now what you could do if you want to hide your pink ward is you can pink ward somewhere down in the river before you show in the lane. But here he doesn't seem to really care, which is fine. And so notice what he does. When he knows that he's going to play the lane in an extended time in this area, he drops the ward. Now, he drops the pink ward because he wants to keep the line in this position. He wants to keep pushing. And so he's most likely not going to look for bounce backs, because if he looks for bounce backs, he's losing the pink ward, right? At that point, the tri-bush would have been better for the pink ward. And so because he places the pink ward, and you know, we know that he's just looking to retain his presence in the lane in a position where he can bait the opposing jungler out and continue to assert his dominance. Now, in this case here, if he drops the yellow ward, which I would recommend doing that, mainly because sometimes things go wrong. You know, you drop the yellow ward, then you could bounce back, because then even if Scion, you know, you need a sweeper to take that out, and eventually the ward will serve you for the duration that you're up here, and then eventually for when you pull back. Okay, that's just like basic stuff that you can consider. Now in this case, if we look for aggression, again, this is very important. This is the last little thing that I'm going to talk about before we end off this video here, is you can look for aggro. Again, don't be afraid of getting aggroed here, because if you get aggroed here, these casters, although will jump on you, yes, but 1, you have the brush, 2, you have Doran's shield and a potion, and 3, you're Fiora into Scion, so you can relax. And so you're not gonna like die that easily. And so what ends up happening here is if you aggro the Scion and you find those vitals, you take the red caster autos and the millies, then your blue wave hits the red wave, and the red wave hits you. Therefore, your push is accelerated, and that's what you want to do. You don't want to play the next like 2 waves here. You want to get this wave under the tower. Okay, good luck. That's it for this video.